What's up, guys? It's Jake here from Cheap Life Gaming. Today, a quick little tutorial for you guys. I'm working on this small piece of scatter terrain, and what I have in mind is creating a more realistic piece quickly and easily. So the main thing that I'm thinking about with this video and this particular piece of terrain is wear patterns or high travel areas. So what I mean by that, very simply, is if we have somebody walking along, let's use our cultist here, through this piece of terrain, right? You have some infantry. You're not going to walk this way to try to go over this piece of terrain, this tank trap here. Path of least resistance. You're going to walk through the middle, right? Pretty easy. And maybe you're going to shoot off to the right or to the left as you go through the other side. But for the most part, if we use like a line, your paths are going to be through the middle here and through the middle there, right? So that area of this terrain is going to get walked on a lot. And if you think about real life, IRL, if you walk on a piece of gravelly terrain or dirt like this, and there's a lot of people walking on it, it makes a little rut or a trail, or just it affects the ground, right? Pretty easy concept. So what we're going to try to do very quickly and easily, again, we're all about doing that technique real quick and easy at this channel, so we're going to try to provide a little bit of worn look to this area. So real quick, if I was thinking ahead, I'm just going to turn my phone on silent, sorry guys. If I was thinking ahead, I would have done a little bit of prep work with this gravel. So if you think about, I'm just going to get in a little closer here. If you think about this gravel now, these bigger chunks, as people walk through, would get kicked off to the side. And you'd be left with just the small fine grit in the middle. So in future projects, and for you guys, if you're watching this video, I would definitely recommend to think ahead and do that with your flock, with your gravel. Now I'm going to do that with some grass, like moss. I'm going to have it kind of overgrowing on the sides, but not in the middle, because when people walk, they trample out that grass, right? So that's another way you can do it, but again, if I was thinking ahead, I would have had only some fine grit, maybe a couple of these larger grit rocks in the middle path, and then the rest of them off to the side. That would really help sell this effect, really help it out, I think. So regardless, I'm going to try it. We're going to see how it looks and go from there. So the only thing that I want to do in this video, actually I'm going to do two things. So the first thing I'm going to do is use different amounts of wash. So the washing, I guess the wash that I use is, this is a Vallejo game color. So it's the sepia shade, and I use this quite frequently, but I don't use it right out of this bottle. I thin it down pretty far with some airbrush thinner and water, or just water, and then you could use like some flow improver or matte medium, gloss varnish medium, whatever people use. Basically pretend you're thinning out paint, and thin out this wash quite a bit. You can try it straight out of the pot. I like to thin it. It goes a little further that way and still does the same general effect. So if you don't have this, obviously you can use any shade, like Agrax Earth Shade. Let's see, I think it's Army Painter's Strong Tone is their brown. Let me see if I have some. Strong Tone. Nope. Just dark tone. But any brown wash that you have. You could even thin out brown paint really far and you'd get a wash. So what we're going to do is dump brown wash into this center area here to make it look a little muddier. And I'm going to kind of feather it out. So I'm going to do heavy layers through the middle and then keep kind of going out from there just a little bit. So real heavy through the middle, then a little bit further out and in the middle, and then etc. Keep going out and just keep dumping on that wash to make it look muddy and gritty. Once that's done, I'm going to see how it looks, and we may come in and do some dry brushing, right? So to help convince the eye that that's a higher travel area, you can dry brush lighter around it. So around those high travel areas, we're going to lighten up the low travel areas. Pretty simple, I think. And then from there, We're going to see how it looks. Apply a little bit of grass, flock, and like moss, avoiding these high travel areas. And hopefully that'll tie the whole effect together. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to start applying the wash on camera for you, speed it up, and we'll see how it goes. A little bit of an experiment for me. I've never actually done this before to this extent, so let's just see how it works. Right, guys, the wash has dried, and it's definitely making this area that we talked about look a lot darker and muddier, but I don't like the contrast between the two areas. So what I'm going to do now is take my dry brush and come in with some colors like Ushabti Bone and a gray, a Dawnstone, and basically just some earthy, brighter colors like this for the very top layer, meant for the top layer of rocks, so highlights, and try to slowly kind of bring this area together and feather it out. But I'm going to leave the center of this pretty much as is, the best I can. So hopefully that'll help smooth out that transition before we move into flocking with our static grass or our grass. So let's give that a try. Right, so here is the side that I've dry brushed, and here's the original with just the wash applied. So you can see here that with that dry brushing to pick out those higher raised edges, it definitely helps to blend this together a lot more. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and do this side just very quickly, and we'll move on to the flocking stage. Alright, so the dry brushing stage is complete, and as you can see, it's a lot more blended together in those areas that looked pretty stark before. We've kind of feathered in some of the colors that were on the just in the outside near these tank traps. We've feathered those back into the middle there, and it definitely blends it together, but it's still a pretty cool effect, very subtle without the grass applied. So what I'm going to do, guys, is apply the flock, and I'm going to do that just with Elmer's glue. I brush it on. This is PVA glue as they call it, and I'm going to use a grass color that's more tan, I guess, or dead looking. So I'm going to use this this flock here, And then I'm going to come in with a few of these grass tufts. I believe both of this is Army Painter brand. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm going to do that off camera just because it's so messy. I'm going to do it in a different spot, and I will come back and show you guys that product. Okay guys, so we've applied the grass, and basically I lost a couple clips. I don't know what happened to my recording situation here, but what happened was I applied the grass, didn't think it was enough, applied a little more, didn't think it was enough, did one last time, and then I way overdid it. I applied way too much. And so what I did to remedy that situation, basically what happened is I washed out all of that work I did to try to make this look more traveled and more worn, and it just looked the same as everywhere else. So what I did to remedy that was put another layer of the brown wash over the center, and this is where we ended up. So whether or not this is the effect that I had in mind, you know, it's a little bit too stark. I guess the one thing that I can think of to do is to come back in, and I'm just going to zoom in for you guys real quick. So if we look at just this one side, you can see pretty clearly that there is some grass in the center here, right? This is where I had overdone the flocking, but then when I put the brown wash in, it really helps to blend it in with the dirt, and it basically washes it out. So to kind of ease this transition and make it a little more convincing, what I think you could do is come in on this edge and do a nice feathering of the grass to help ease that transition. But for me, guys, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it could be done definitely a little bit better, but overall I think it's pretty convincing. It gives the look I was after, and it was pretty quick and pretty easy to do, which is something I was concerned about. So I hope this has helped you guys out, adding just a little bit more depth and a little bit more convincing looks to your terrain pieces. So thank you guys for watching. If it helped you out, let me know in the comments. If you guys have tried this on your own, send me some links to some pictures. I'd love to see your terrain pieces, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, and I hope you have a great day. Bye now.